if you look at the retail space, like the everyday traders or individual, they're all people that are very curious to learn things. They want kind of like some hint on what's going to happen in the market. They're curious. And I think the fact that we will be able to convey this kind of messages, this kind of explanation to explain this market in a relatively simple way, I think it will certainly draw the attention of and open the market quite a lot.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of World of Old Derivatives. I'm Greg Newman, Group Chief Executive of Onyx Capital Group. Today is another Leadership Series episode. I'm joined with Andrea Rebusco. He is our new head of retail brokerage. Now, this is very exciting for me personally and certainly the business. We have been working for a long time on transitioning the business into more of a services business that can reach far and wide in terms of our trading, democratizing oil is what we call it, leveling the playing field. And one of the big things that comes into that is actually accessing this market. Not everyone can access it. It's something that became very clear as we progressed in the business, that the retail audience, the everyday investor, the personal investor has no way to access the market that we do. And this market is hugely important. It's linked to the end user prices, the real oil prices that you trade and you consume on a day-to-day basis, things that impact your life. So it's only fair for people to have access to this market, to hedge or even to speculate. And that was always the goal. So the goal got very serious in the last couple of years. We started to plan towards it. And finally, we've hired Andrea. And Andrea has put all the pieces together and is here to talk to me about it for the audience. Again, very, very excited about this and a whole new venture and kind of solidification of our mission. So really happy to have Andrea here. Please, before we start, remember to like and subscribe. It's really important to boost views and help the channel in general, and enjoy the episode. So Andrea, thanks. I guess I said it all in my intro, right? You know what we're here to do. I guess first things first, your background.
Thanks for having me here, first of all, Greg. And my background, I started in retail brokerage almost 15 years ago, started as a sales trader for IG Group, most famous as IG Index here in the UK, IG Markets in Europe, and then progressed slowly my career as a head of EMEA Trading Services, pretty much managing all the front office teams from trading to client management to customer support, related to all the EMEA region. So pretty much 2/3 of the revenue of IG Group at that time, roughly $500 million of revenue. So after that, I had a brief experience working for a digital wealth manager called Manifam. And I helped to transition the company towards a total wealth manager. Pretty much the company before it was just offering a digital wealth management portfolio, so like kind of robo-advisor products. And I work on a project to pretty much launch the share investing platform and make them become a total wealth manager. So pretty much give the single individual the possibility to buy and sell equities and other securities. And and recently joined Onyx in helping building the new retail business unit.
So context for the audience, and we use retail a lot. Not always, it's not meant to be derogatory or anything like that. It's a categorization in the sense we have the industry ultimately, which is, your trade houses, your majors, your banks, big firms ultimately. Then there are investor groups, more like, the Schroeder types, the big pension funds, and retail is going to be classified, I guess, as the everyday person. Is that fair? It can be all those people, but it can also be.
Yeah, I think in terms of probably the general terms, yes. I think in terms of the, maybe if you look at the target market that we are gonna aim, I would probably segment it into three main elements, right? And three maybe subcategory, if you want to say so. I think the one that is kind of a spot between the actually institutional side and the retail, it's probably small corporates, and I think it can be served through the retail product or retail platform. And I think the reason being is that these kind of like maybe small companies, they could not access certain products that offer on the institutional space, or maybe they're not happy with the kind of service that they receive because maybe they don't bring enough revenue or the company is not structured to serve these kind of clients. I think those are probably not merely the classical retail investor, but I think it's something that we could serve with the new offering. And then I think you shift towards the retail single individual clients that is pretty much the every person in the street. And I think the sub-segment here is twofold, right? You've got probably the person who knows about the financial market, who is very literate, maybe he worked in the financial market in the past, he knows about the commodity, but he didn't have the access to the product that we will be offering, or maybe even the kind of information that we will equip this kind of investor. And then you've got the curious investor, that is maybe the guy that doesn't have the knowledge, but it's curious about, let's say, speculating on investing in the market and knowing more. So I think we will cater for all the three to different level. So in a way, we'll offer the products, we will offer the learning and development, and we will offer the level of information according to what is required to this kind of subsegment.
And you've been working with this area for 15 years. I mean, there's obviously a distinction in the operational side of things, but how have you noticed the change in the last 15 years?
Yeah, the change has been, they've been drastic, to be honest, in a good and in a bad way. I think companies have been led by tech. They became more efficient, certainly, in servicing their clients and in terms of like cost saving, but that not necessarily has always worked toward the clients. So in my opinion, it has helped the companies increase marginality and reduce cost more than improving the service to the clients. And that's probably where we'd like to fill this gap. I think to be client-centric and a broker that still offer, of course, technology is very important because you want to offer fast execution, you want to offer all the ancillary service and tools to the clients to better make their investment decision, but you don't want to dehumanize the service you provide. So if I look at the trends, I think especially in the last 3-4 years where all the companies have been pressured by achieving higher margin, especially the listed companies, I think the service to the clients has decreased massively, especially for the average clients. Maybe the top clients, the one that generate the most of the revenue for the company, they still get a decent service, but the rest, I don't think they probably are receiving the service they deserve.
Is this because it's been a bit of a race? You know, if I look at the last 10 years, for example, I would say that there's just been this big push, not just in oil, you know, the GameStop saga, the general financialization of the entire world, really. But I think, you know, crypto, there's a lot of people taking ownership over their own investment portfolios, their own personal trading. And the demand for that has become more and more about just access rather than wanting advice and rather than wanting to be told what to do. So just give me the platform to play. That seems to be the big transition. Is that fair to say?
I think so, yeah. I think it's much easier to give access without an explanation than actually delivering the full service to the clients. And I think that's what exactly happened. I think there's been a combination of what the company wanted and I think where the capital market was at that time. I think there's been, we've seen a lot of fintech or so alike that they've been funded with abundant money in like, I don't know, 5-7 years ago, that they were producing investment platform, trading platform. They weren't actually monetizing on these clients, but the most important KPI for them or objective, it was pretty much to acquire clients and not monetize. So it was very easy to offer a cheap, let's say, easy product, or not always easy, but make it look easy and not care about the consequences. And I think now they arrive at the level where well, the capital is not there anymore, or I mean, it's not abundant anymore. I mean, all the institutional company that they funded this company, they are asking for a return. And the business model is slightly changing. So all of them, they're going to say, well, we actually need to make money. We need to monetize this business.
We need more sticky clients.
We need more sticky clients, but it's not always easy because when you acquire, you know, millions of customers and you see that maybe the target customer is not capable of generating the revenue that you wanted. I mean, you go down to actually achieving those kind of efficiency that I was talking before. That not always benefit the clients.
So coming out of this, very experienced, you're a big name in this game, and you've got this opportunity now to launch a new retail business. And of course, we're coming at it from the angle of, oil specialists, liquidity providers for the whole world, giving access to retail investors. It's just easy for us and our existing business because we want to trade with as many people as possible. But there is a whole business to create here, and we can't just have oil. And if anything, the oil side is something we're going to have to spend time educating people on. When I talk about it being the end user price and how that all works, there's a big educational journey. The way I see it, we're opening up an entire ecosystem, a bit like opening up crypto. There's all these things to trade. People aren't going to be able to trade them day one, like inside out. It'll be a long, great, exciting journey, I think. And I think a lot will change in the whole world. Hopefully, people's ownership of price risk in commodities is a significant thing as we work through them. But we will have to offer everything else, right? The foreign exchange, the equities, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess if we could start there, your working philosophy with this, given everything you've seen and given your beliefs, what is your business mantra going to be as we start?
I think is a few. I mean, you said it right. Our core skill is around commodities. That's kind of obvious from where we come from as Onyx, and I think is where we're going to add probably the most value in terms of product offering, or maybe not adding the most value, but probably create that kind of uniqueness in terms of product offering that others will not be able to offer, and that will be coupled with the information that we will offer, the content, the learning and development. And you might say, yes, well, all the brokers do offer research to some extent. They offer market commentary. I think the level of quality of how you deliver these is what makes the difference. And I think it is all told in our history, right? And most of the retail broker, they are retail, and they want to now enter into the institutional space. We are institutional, and we're entering into the retail. So it's basically almost, if I draw an analogy and you want to learn how to play football and you learn from someone who is not a pro, or if you go from the top league and these guys are teaching you how to trade, or they're offering you how to trade a platform to trade, I think we've got that advantage. So every person involved in delivering market commentary, in delivering the learning and development, in delivering any added service that we will offer to the clients, has got a super long experience in the field. So they are very established players. They work for top banks for decades. They work for top companies. We've got head of performance that has worked in Formula One, as you know. So it's the combination of the two things. So offering a unique product offering, maybe on the oil space, but also what is around it and what is around all the other products that we will offer. Yes, indexes, FX, some of these products will be available in other platforms as well. But will the clients be served in the same way? No, that's not our mantra.
Supported by traders for traders.
Correct.
And I think you're essentially saying the return to quality is what you want to see in this industry, and you'll lead that. And I love it. I think there's lots of trends and cycles. We've seen it ourselves. People will say, "Oh, your competitors are doing really well. They're doing." It's like, but is it sustainable? We've ridden out 3 or 4 cycles ourselves, and it's all about what's the underlying quality there. What are you really providing to the customer? What are you really providing to the market? And if that's solid and you've got very strong foundations, you'll always win out, because that's the sustainable offering. So I guess that's what you're saying, and look, I couldn't agree more with it. So I guess that's the interest for people looking in. So if we take it from there, the business philosophy, and then what about the actual business approach? What can people expect? Kind of the launches, timings, and what we're going to be launching.
Yeah, in terms of launch, we're aiming towards end of September. And it will be gradual in a way that probably from day one, we will not be able to offer all the product that we wanted, but we will improve with time. As you can imagine, the pipeline has been very busy in the last few months. We had to build the tech, we had to build the trading infrastructure behind the front office team. We hired a top individual from various companies, and I think we're putting all the pieces together. So in terms of launch, we're aiming towards end of September, and I say with a gradual improvement towards the month to follow.
And that's in terms of launching more products and heading towards this goal. I guess we've got the dual pronged, I really want to help with the whole oil expansion, of course, and then that will move to other commodities, even electricity markets, right? This is what's embedded in everyone's day-to-day lives as well as oil. We've got to get into that market, make people understand how it works, give them ownership over their price risk, hedging tools, things like that. There's just endless to do. But as you said, there's a lot of demand for people who just want to trade themselves, and they can do with support, and it's not telling them what to do. It's just, if there's resources to be had, then we need to put our best foot forward. And I think the sales team that we've spoken to who have joined, that's what they're super excited about, right? There's lots of plans for, seminars, like client meets, and as you said, like Chris Gooder, like performance, adding that, learning and development. So we really want to, I think everyone's very excited about this, and it's nice to have it as part of a overall mission as well. It's not all about money. And I think people like in the business that we're trying to reach as many people as we can with this. So I can't tell you, I honestly, it's been my thing for so long. I mean, I hinted at it in my book, even like retail needs to open up for oil and in general. Revolut did a great job with it in FX, and you need to do similar things like that. And I can't wait to see what we can do with this market. So again, listeners out there, a lot of people work at professional organizations, but they also trade on the side. Sometimes there's people who are, a lot of demand to trade what we're talking about, understand what we're talking about, but also just trade, everything on macro Mondays, for example. There's all these indices, all those kind of things. So what is, to people new to retail trading especially, what are you expecting the customer journey to be? I'm guessing you're going to be very customer centric. And obviously customer experience centric. So what, they're going to basically see the website, sign up, and what happens then?
Definitely, yeah. As mentioned before, I want technology to help the clients, help us, but not as a mean to just save cost and deteriorate the relationship with the clients, offer lower quality of service to the clients. So I think in terms of the service that we'll provide, we expect like a smooth service in terms of onboarding, everything that you would expect, execution, everything, but there will be that human touch that I think is going to be the real differentiator. So we have the luxury to be a company that is relatively small compared to some of the big retail brokers, and we're not listed as well. I think at this stage is probably an advantage. So we kind of have the freedom to tailor the service to the clients however we prefer to do it. And I think that's the real advantage. So you expect the clients to really be looked after in a way you'd expect in other businesses for other products. And I think that's what really going to make the difference. And I think also linking to the commodity space, what you mentioned, it's very interesting because and I can probably draw an analogy here to when I joined Onyx a few months ago, and I had a chat with one of your traders, and he was explaining a bit about the dynamics of the elements that affects oil. I'm more of a product generalist rather than a specialist into commodities, and it was super interesting to understand, for instance, how weather affects, the storm season is affecting actually one kind of oil rather than the other one, and how you can trade it. I think it's something that everyone should actually benefit from in terms of information, and it can be explained in a simple way. And I think if you look at the retail space, like the everyday traders or individual, they're all people that are very curious to learn things. They want kind of like some hint on what's going to happen in the market. They're curious. And I think the fact that we will be able to convey this kind of messages, this kind of explanation to explain this market in a relatively simple way, I think it will certainly draw the attention of and open the market quite a lot.
So what do you find the general customer profile that needs are at this day and age?
I mean, certainly it's the pricing, you have to be competitive, that's for sure. I mean, you can't avoid that. Execution needs to be there, because if you have problem with a platform that is not stable, it's certainly something that you have to offer pretty much.
You have to meet the benchmark standards.
Pretty much, that's the benchmark standard, and I think what I said is all around it. I think that there are a lot of ancillary services, the learning, the analysis of the performance of the clients, the knowledge. It's about proactively, not advising, but proactively looking to understand what the client needs and try to provide them according to the segment of the clients. And that's what we will do. That is quite different from the others. I mean, we're very, in that, I envisage our offering, to be like, in a way, a bit old style. Like we are going to do a lot of events that are probably going to be in our office, where we show our clients how we operate, where we basically are going to teach certain elements of trading and offer certain seminars, pretty much. That's something that nowadays is very rare. I mean, everyone just do webinar, and I'm not saying that we won't do that bit. We will, but I think we want to maintain that human element. So it's like, if you really want to see us, there will be occasion that you will. We are here for you. We are not hiding.
You say return to quality in general, the approach. I mean, again, I think that's part of the evolution. So first of all, the idea of trading by yourself in general would have been an exciting new thing at some point in the past. And then it's, I want access to more and more products. And then as it becomes more often for people to trade, they've actually the average person is starting to be more interested in how you actually do these things. How do you actually invest properly? And I think you only need to go on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, and see there's a lot of people out there explaining how things work, and they get a lot of views because people are genuinely trying to take ownership. The issue is, I find that there is no shortcuts. So I think we're timing this quite well, because I don't like to be in the part of a boom because people are telling some kind of delusional story about, oh, you're guaranteed to make money, like crypto, for example, and they're not providing any trading principles, and people are talking a game that it's kind of divorced from the underlying investment principles and trading principles. So now that that's kind of dimmed down quite a bit, we're in a more difficult market in general, I'd say, investment market. It's a good time to come in and say, look, if you're serious about this, we're serious about explaining how this really works and how to position yourself. And it's about risk management. So to be honest, that's going to sound boring, but the reality is, if you've done a lot of trading and it's maybe been enjoyable for some time, but now you're actually genuinely trying to, I know lots of people who say, yeah, I've got I run my own portfolio, some in gold, some in bonds, some in equities. People are really keen to run their own like kind of pension fund almost internally. So there is that demand for almost the nitty gritty granular stuff, which was initially people say to me, look, it's Greg, it's not sexy enough. And I'm like, I don't care then, because it's about quality. And if I'm not going to try and pitch something, get rich quick. I'm not trying to pitch something about it's so easy to do this. Like with our trading literature and how I've talked about on podcasts, I'm not going to go on a podcast and say, this is how to make $5,000 in 5 minutes. No, this is how to spend the next 5 years developing a skill set that will give you financial autonomy for the rest of your life. And there is no shortcut to that. So I think that's the camp that we stand in, right? And we're all for people doing what they ultimately feel comfortable doing. But if it's about really digging in and learning the quality, there's a lot to be engaged with. And the more I say it, the more you say it, the more I see it happen, I think it's a massive differentiating factor, right? And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that we are in this for the long term says it all, right? You've got in the space, you've got probably two kind of like players. You've got the one that are just churn clients in a way. They get clients, they try to get the most out of them in terms of revenue, and then they change.
And they're playing on that gamifying of trading.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you think that's dying out? It's been used too much?
It will always be there to some extent. I think it will be less sustainable. I mean, the acquisition channel becoming.
Well, did you ever watch Dumb Money? That thing about the GameStop? It was a movie.
Yeah.
You know, the Robin Hood. Like, you literally swiped up to buy, and it will go like you bought. Like you don't even know what price you're buying. You're just clicking buy. That kind of thing surely is coming to. I hope is coming to an end.
I think there's going to be more transparency, and for sure the regulator. It's already acting on some of these companies, to be honest, because I think it's not a game as much as you want to gamify an app for investing. I mean, you win or lose money. I think some investors, they might think fun to do it, but as long as you do it with awareness, I think that's the different thing, right? So you don't want to mask the risk or of the product you're buying by pretty much gamify and think that it's so easy, or that's the real key difference. I think being here with the clients for the long term and not just for the short term.
But I can give the reverse argument in the same logic, which is, once you're very comfortable with risk management and you are aware of your parameters, and let's say you have $1,000 or pounds, whatever, to invest, to manage that accordingly so it doesn't all just disappear on one trade. Once you're comfortable around that, it's a very enjoyable thing to do. It can be a very enjoyable, because now suddenly you have access to intricate products that we're going to offer an oil. Like you say, it could be a weather impact that has a different impact east versus west. There's differentials all over the place. If you've got a particular view in Asia jet versus, that's a very different contract to US jet, and so on and so on and so on. So you've got this, I don't want to say playground, but ultimately this like ecosystem along with your equities, with your FX, that when you look at world events and the economy, you can wake up in the morning, right, Israel strike on Hamas leader, that is going to have an impact on markets. Where, oil is a clear buy in scenarios like this, that's up $3, that's up decent percentage moves there. But you can also, offset that with FX trades, equity trades. There's equities in kind of tension war scenarios. We tend to be bearish equities, bullish flight to safety, people call it. So they buy oil, they buy gold, they buy crypto. If you've got a handle on risk management, how to divvy out, say, that $1,000 into different areas or contracts, then it's worth spending the time. Like anything, it's like getting really good, really good at a game. Because if you get very good at the game and you're risk managing well, the appeal is fantastic. And you just want to make sure that people aren't gambling. And the definition of gambling would be it's all or nothing. It's not, there's no real rhyme and reason to it. But once you've got the rule book essentially and the kind of internal safety in what you're doing, then this is an incredibly enjoyable thing to do. And I always think, why shouldn't people, and I mean everyone, be able to do this? Because sometimes you think of the traders, and I think, we're talking about going into new markets, and we're talking about this arbitrage versus this, and this is how we think we trade it. And we're realizing, okay, we might see ourselves as smart people, but at the end of the day, it's because we have access to it. If everyone had access to it would probably be a hell of a lot harder, because everyone's playing on the same level playing field. And why should just the traders and just Wall Street or just these banks be able to play that game in that way? And, my ultimate goal would be to really move away from this dumb money concept, because really the retail community, like the GameStop saga proved, they can have more influence than anyone else. So everyone has to look at retail investors now in wider markets, and it should be the same for oil, because they're the end users, right? So they might move in swaths and herds, but that's rightly so. If the end user wants to take ownership of their trading as well as their consumption, that's really thrilling for me, because I just don't like the idea of it being stuck with a disproportionately few number of people, and then everyone just has to consume the end user oil without being able to access these price movements before it got there and how it's priced. You see what I mean? So I love that story, and I think the world is heading there. I don't know if you...
Definitely, no, completely agree. I mean, the difference, I think, from the GameStop saga, I think, and what we would do, that one is it created and I think good on them and on the community, but it created a massive community. I think we want to do the same, but it's going to be created on the basis of information, fundamental information. So
but this
really
is the thing,
is the quality of the information.
But remember, if you really do look at that event, that it was led by quality. It was this guy coming up with Roaring Kitty, deep spreadsheets, deep analysis. Yeah. It was a very in-depth discussion about the GameStop stock. You're talking about a highly sophisticated thing that's usually about hedge funds, which is looking at the positioning of something and trading against the positioning as well as the fair value of the stock. A huge amount of analysis went into it. And I love that. And the community Wall Street Bets initially was, I love that whole thing. I think what you're referencing is then it turned into diamond hands and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. At the beginning, I think is what evolved and follow. But I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So we want the early stage, not the
definitely,
not the overhype. But that's what I'm saying. If you're interested in creating sustainable income, and that is the world wants to take. There's a lot of discussion philosophically about work these days. Why do we have to work in the same rigid format? Well, this is how you get autonomy over that. You need to find a way to become financially stable, and this is the most efficient way to do it if you know what you're doing. Yeah. So it's important that people get access to that. But people would hear that and go, "Oh, great! I'm going to whack up this app and I'm going to make loads of money." It's no. There's statistics all over the place. 70 to 80% of retail investors lose money. But I'm telling you, the reason why that is, from my point of view, and I hope you'll back it up, it's just poor risk management. Because weren't you showing that the majority, no, I think it was actually James Brody, he was saying the win-loss ratio of retail investors is higher than professional. It's something like 75% of trades put on in like the average retail brokerage is actually a winning trade. But the amounts they lose on when they do lose is way more. So overall, they lose money. But that's like, oh my God, if I was a risk manager.
I think it's all, you touched on this point. I think it's a very interesting one because it's one that we will address as well. So when I spoke about learning and development, I'm not just speaking about like fundamental analysis, technical analysis, all the hard skills. There's a lot soft skills, and I think the one that actually justified this behavior that you just made the example of is pretty much like holding two losses too long and not to the gain. So that's kind of like is the field of behavioral finance, and we've got specialists, as you know, within Onyx that actually know that, and they can provide seminar, webinar, material, and they're passionate. That's an element that probably you're right. Like you'd save most of the traders from losing a lot of money.
No, but it's even better than that. I'm looking at it going, so you guys are good at calling the market. Now you need good risk management, and now you will make money. That's exciting. If you were coming at God every time it's like a monkey at a dartboard and they're just all over the place, then there's not a lot of hope. But if you're saying no, you are making the right calls. If you just sort out the risk management piece, that's how a risk manager would look at a trading team and say, look, we've got a chance here to do really well. Super exciting. Now there's another thing for me I wanted to touch on, which is it is unfortunately quite technical, but what I would really want the retail community to understand, and I mean now everyone, even industry people, professional people, when we talk about these contracts that we're talking about offering on the oil side, oil swaps, now we've said these prices are linked very closely to the real price that you end up buying or selling at the pump. Now, that's great, but the reality is, when these contracts are settled, when the settlement price, like the real price is determined, which is then the price that you're going to pay at the pump or, in some form of oil product consumption, the actual methodology for how that is settled is heavily influenced, maybe I would say about 90% influenced by the financial trade. So by definition, retail traders coming in and buying and selling these contracts, 650 plus available, multiple regions, multiple products. Your buying and selling is having an inextricable link, like an absolute genuine impact on the end user price. So let's say Wall Street Bets was going on about buying gasoline in the Mediterranean contract. If enough people bought it all at once for no real reason, and it would move the price higher. And on that day, it would influence the settlement by the amount it moved, which then filters to a higher price at the pump. In other words, it's real control of prices. It's real purchasing power. So I really want people to understand that, because as the community gets bigger and more people have this access, you might say, well, I don't want higher prices. And it's not about pushing the markets up or pushing the markets down. But it's about saying, if you're engaged and locked in the market and you think it's undervalued or you think it's overvalued or anything like that, you have your chance to not just say, observing that's too high, that's too low, to actually go in and trade volume, which in turn will have a knock-on mechanism of actually influencing the price. And you get enough people doing that. The retail community outweighs the professional community when they're engaged a huge amount. It's something like 50%, I think, of US equities or something like that flow is now through personal accounts. Someone told me, don't quote me on that exactly, but the point is that if the retail community gets together and is really trading commodities, they will genuinely have an impact on the price. And there's no better story for like ownership there, because it's like, if I go back to 2022, we could see the war coming. We could see all the talk about, Russia going up on the border, on the Ukraine border. It was escalating. It looked like it was going to happen. At that point, you're going, look, diesel prices in particular, but crude prices, oil prices, everything's about to skyrocket if this happens. And if you know that, there's no way to protect yourself. But now there is. You go in and say, well, look, I need access. What products do I consume every day? Okay, you might think you're not exposed to diesel prices, but the diesel prices will impact that. The Amazon delivery prices you pay, prices for supermarkets because they have to import things, used trucks. You're exposed to gasoline if you've got a gasoline car. Fuel oil prices, even with electricity generation, there's real impact. So if you're saying, Christ, there's a war coming and my bills are going to absolutely explode soon, and I should, even the generic person can understand that, right? With Russia about to move into a war scenario, it frustrates me that there's nothing you can do about it. But now there is. And I love that story because you're going, look, I just buy these forward contracts now. If I lose money on them, okay, that is obviously the risk and you can risk manage that. But what you've bought yourself there is insurance. And when a war kicks off, the prices go a lot higher, and that's not good for you because you're going to end up having to pay higher end user prices. But at least you had a chance to offset it with derivatives. And that's the great story.
And I think the example you made is really good, actually. I can think of actually during the war, when the war started, like about the natural gas pricing, like going skyrocketing pretty much. So that's pretty much relatable to everyday household, right? You got your bills probably going up 2-3 folds. So I think people had an opinion and they could see what was happening in the market. That you can see in the UK, for instance, the government coming in and subsidizing the cost of your bill with a package. In other countries, like in Southern Europe, maybe trying to do deal with some African countries instead of sourcing the gas through the Russian pipeline. So I think the average person probably is quite attentive to this kind of information, but they maybe don't associate with financial product they could trade. So by us giving access, we do what it should be obvious, but it's not as it is in the stock market. Because again, you hear about NVIDIA, about AI, everyone jumps in and buy NVIDIA. You hear about, well, any other new technology or maybe some rumors about the company not delivering as well as they should and whatever. So you decide maybe to go short through some contracts. That's more obvious, but I think people don't relate this, the relationship between the correlation between like the gas, for instance, oil or gasoline at the pump. And I think by us giving access to this kind of information, to this kind of product, it will be very interesting.
Interesting, but also the way it should be. And hopefully it grows and grows and grows, and we can become more and more sophisticated about what we offer. And hopefully one day the retail community is not only able to trade derivatives, they're able to actually lock in, real end user prices early. And I'm sure it will get there. This is just a pathway of efficiency that the world is always on. And some people say, when you think about financialization, technology, that there can be abuses of these systems, but used right, they make things a lot more efficient and a lot more democratized. And I say it probably every single day, and I just really enjoy it. It's a really cool thing to be a part of and to drive. Absolutely psyched to be a part of it. Absolutely psyched to have you on board. You've been a consummate professional. I mean, you've come in, built this team. I was expecting to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. I've done practically zero. So it's just amazing to see it all form. We're going to get going in a couple months. We're going to hit the market with everything we've got. It won't be overnight, but we're committed. As you said, we're all really excited, passionate about passing over our knowledge, our skills, and it's just going to be a really interesting and thrilling exercise. And I hope the audience out there finds it interesting, and I hope you guys engaged when you get the chance. So thanks very much for this conversation. Good luck with everything. And hopefully we can come back, and review it. And there'll be endless things to talk about as we go forward.
For sure, there will be plenty of opportunities. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Andrea. And listeners, again, thank you for listening. And honestly, I hope you're as excited as I am. So please be sure to check out, our media for when the official launches are, how to sign up, how to get information on what we're doing, or even just information about the market. We're very much in the mode of pushing that content, making this market as transparent as we can to help the accessibility. onyxhub.co. Look out for that and research that. And as always, obviously our YouTube channel, we're really pushing as well. So thanks again. See you guys soon.